All right, so welcome to the workshop, Why Just Think Positive is Useless Against Negative Self-Talk and What to Do Instead. And I'm really excited that you're joining me here today, and I can't wait to share all of this amazing information with you. So this workshop I've done live, I've done it in person, and they've been really well received. People couldn't believe everything that I shared and gave away for free. So I'm really excited to hear your reaction as well. So if you're live here, then feel free to put your information in the chat box and say hello, and then I'll be reposting this to Facebook. So if you're watching the replay on Facebook, drop in replay right now and tell me if you're excited or not. Say if you're unsure or if you're just here for info or whatever, just say replay and what you're all about. Okay, and if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in chat, like I said, and I'll look at your questions at the end because I often get distracted by the chat feed, and I'll just be sure to stay as long as it takes to answer everybody's questions. So please ask away, and I'll be sure to answer your questions for you. And again, if you're watching this on the Facebook group later, absolutely, feel free to drop your questions in there as well. And plus, if you stay to the end, I'm going to show you how you can get access to a free inner critic healing package with a guided meditation and a mini workbook. So stick around for that. So just in case we haven't met yet, or if we haven't really talked much over this inner critic challenge, I'm Heather Thatcher. And over my 10 years as a registered nurse, I noticed that although people came into the hospital with physical conditions, many of those were a manifestation of what was going on from within. I was a critical care nurse working in the ICU for a while, and then I also did a few years working in the community, teaching people about how to empower themselves to manage their stress and improve their health and wellness. But I noticed that if they were struggling with negative self-talk, making these positive changes was very challenging for them. And I realized that if I wanted to help make an impact on people with their health, I had to crack the code to overcome their inner critic and negative self-talk and also lower their stress response. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. I'm going to walk you through the exact steps that I use with my clients and the exact steps that we follow in the self-talk reboot part of the Mindset Reboot program. So the next thing which I want to do is to remain open and coachable. I'd encourage you to remain open and coachable. We're going to be breaking through some old thought patterns, some things that you thought you used to know about self-talk and your inner critic. And we can't do that if you're holding on to what you thought you knew to be true. What got you here won't get you to where you want to be. And to illustrate this, I want to share a story with you. So there's a story of this person who climbed this huge mountain to reach a guru. And when they entered the guru's house, they really wanted to impress the guru and started telling the guru everything that they had learned so far and everything they knew about the topic that the guru was an expert in. And so the guru started pouring them some tea, and he kept talking, and the guru kept pouring tea until it was overflowing and spilling out onto the table and onto the floor. And so that person jumped up and shouted, "What are you doing? There's tea everywhere." And the guru looked him straight in the eye and he said, "If your cup is already full, there's no room for any more." If your cup is already full, there's no room for anything more. So some of the things that I'm going to be telling you in this workshop will go against what you think you already knew or what you've heard before. So I invite you to take a moment right now and just release any expectations you have of me, of yourself, and just remain open and coachable. And then take notice throughout this workshop when I'm saying something that you're not so sure about. Because the truth is, if the knowledge you already had was enough, you wouldn't be here right now. You wouldn't need this workshop, right? If what you knew right now was enough, you'd be free of negative self-talk. So all I ask is that you remain open and approach what we're going to be talking about in this workshop with curiosity, noticing when you feel resistance, and continue to be present with what's being said. So here's what you can expect from this workshop. We're going to start off by answering the question, why positive thinking is useless against negative self-talk. And then I'm going to go into detail for each part of the Mindset Reboot framework that I've developed. And I'm going to walk you through exactly how to overcome your negative self-talk and dismiss your inner critic. And then I'm going to make some suggestions for what your next steps could be. And so the advice to just think positive, to reframe your thoughts into positive thoughts and fake it till you make it doesn't work. And it doesn't matter how many affirmations you say to yourself, this strategy doesn't work. Why? Because of core beliefs. Core beliefs are deeply rooted beliefs that we have about ourselves that basically reprogram our supercomputer brain. And our brain uses our core beliefs and it hangs on to the information that proves our core beliefs to be true and rejects or forgets the information that proves them to be untrue. And so positive thinking is useless against negative self-talk. But this is the idea that's floating around the internet and social media right now, right? People are talking about using positive affirmations and faking it until you make it. And there's also this idea of planting a seed of positivity and allowing it to grow. But if that worked, then every person who's chanting, I am enough, would silence their inner critic completely and have all of the confidence in the world. But that's not the case, though. You see, we go through 95% of our day based on habits, and that's including our mental habits and emotional reactions. So this means that many of us are going through life in default survival mode, where our self-talk and our mental filters provide the rules for our habits that our brain follows. So if your self-talk is saying that you're stupid or not good at something, even if you say like, I am smart and capable, your brain's going to look at that thought and say, nope, doesn't agree with the habit program, and dismiss it. Think of it this way. If you were to step into an ice bath, a bath full of ice water and ice cubes, no matter how many times you tell yourself the water's warm, the water's warm, the water's warm, nothing's going to change. That water is still going to be freaking freezing, and your body's going to keep getting information, some feedback from that water that it's so cold, and dismiss the thought that you're thinking that the water's warm. So the same thing happens when your mind hears these positive affirmations because it doesn't align with your self-talk program. So now, what if you had the core belief that you were terrible with names? Lots of us seem to have this core belief, and I definitely had this core belief too. So your brain uses this as fact and a way to decide which information to store and which to let go. So when somebody introduces themselves to you, this core belief pops up and the brain says, oh, hey, we don't remember names, and lets that information go, and whoosh, that person's name is gone before you're finished shaking their hand and saying, nice to meet you. So now what if your self-talk was like mine? When I was telling myself that no matter what I've accomplished, no matter how many people I've helped, it was never enough and I could always do better. Maybe you also have a self-talk pattern like that. So if I did a presentation and 4 people came up to me and said, what a good job I did, but then one person said, meh, I've seen better, it would be nearly impossible for me to let that one person's words roll off of me. Those 4 people who said that I did a good job would be forgotten, and I'd focus on everything I could have done that would have made my presentation better. I could have stayed up later last night practicing. I should have had more pictures on my slides. I should have spent more time researching or adjusting my script. My mind would start down the shame spiral, blaming myself for not putting more work into it, even if I'd already given it everything which I had. And this is how core beliefs work. Your subconscious mind is a magnet that remembers information that agrees with your core beliefs and self-talk habits, and forgets or dismisses any information that goes against this brain program. So if your self-talk is telling you that you're never good enough and that you can always do more, when you say something like, I am enough, your core beliefs release that because it doesn't align with who you think you are. And it doesn't matter how many times you say, I am enough, if your core beliefs keep releasing that statement because it doesn't agree with what you believe about yourself. Nothing is going to change if you don't address the brain-based habit. Trying to reframe everything to be less negative and constantly repeating those positive affirmations to yourself because it goes against the wiring in our brain just won't work. So if you want to banish negative self-talk and self-doubt, you have to reprogram your subconscious mind. You have to reprogram your mental habits because, like we talked about in the challenge, your inner critic uses those mental habits and the programming that you have with your self-talk as the rule book to follow. So this is, my friend, why the idea just think positive is never going to work. And in order to fully heal your negative self-talk, you have to heal the emotional and experiential wounds. You have to heal those negative core beliefs so that you can start attracting the energy and opportunities that you can to level up and achieve your goals to become the person that you meant to be. So does that make sense? Take a few moments now to write down any questions that have come up with you so far, and I'm going to take a drink. 1 second. All right. So let's talk about the Mindset Reboot program. This is the framework. So we're going to cover a lot here. in this next part of the workshop. And remember, you don't have to do all of this at once. The whole idea here is to build a strong foundation, to keep those small, manageable steps towards your goals, to keep overcoming that negative self-talk and taking back control from your inner critic. Just like we did over the 5-day challenge, you're going to keep taking those little steps and creating new habits and patterns. And that begins by following these 5 action steps of the framework. And we're going to go over each of the steps, and I'll show you how they all come together with a case study from one of my students as well. So the first step is to identify your existing core beliefs and unwanted thought patterns. And one of the easiest ways to do this, and this is something that I talk about often on social media and in my podcast and the self-talk pep talks that I release every morning, is to do the paperclip exercise. So pick a day or two that you're going to do this exercise and start off with 20 paper clips or coins or something small in one pocket. So make sure it's an outfit with pockets. And then turn up your awareness throughout the day. And every time you hear your inner critic pipe up, move a paper clip from one pocket to the other. And as you're doing this, slow down and notice what your self-talk is all about. Keep going throughout the day, moving paper clips from one pocket to the other, noticing your self-talk themes. And then open up a note in your phone or just quickly jot down the words you're saying to yourself on a piece of paper just after you're moving that clip over. And then at the end of the day, go back and try and find the common themes for your negative self-talk. And now I want to make something very clear here. If you've already moved all 20 paper clips over to the other pocket and you haven't even had your coffee yet, that's okay. The whole point isn't to count the number of times you're saying these negative things to yourself. The idea is that by moving a paper clip over from one pocket to the other, you're going to slow down enough to be able to truly listen to what you're saying to yourself. And then you'll be able to start recognizing those themes. And the first step is always awareness. We have to know what we're working with in order to start making those changes, right? Otherwise, you're just throwing a dart at the wall with your eyes closed and hope you're close. So pick a day or two that you're going to be doing this exercise and start off with 20 paper clips or coins or something small in that one pocket, and then you're going to be moving it over. And just as you're moving it, slow down your awareness, sort of notice what you're talking about. That's the idea of moving the paper clip over, is to give yourself the time to really notice what you're saying. And that's going to help you understand what your self-talk themes are generally about. So once you figure that part out, we're ready to move on to the next part of the Mindset Reboot framework. And the second part of the framework is so important. And if you only get one thing from this workshop, I want it to be this: you are not your thoughts. You are the thinker of your thoughts. Let me explain. When you're going through life and you start to hear those self-sabotaging statements, these horrible things that you wouldn't dream of saying to another human being, yet you're saying them to yourself, are you thinking those thoughts? Remember the ice water bath example. You could have the thought that the water's warm, but then you dismiss that because you know it's not true. That part of you that dismisses the thought that the water's warm when it's not, that is who you are. You are not your thoughts, you are the thinker of your thoughts. And as this thinker of your thoughts, you have the ability to agree or disagree with what's being said. When you're in default survival mode, which is where most of us are living our day-to-day lives, our inner critic is the one driving the bus and making those decisions. And our inner critic and our body don't like change. They want us to stay the same, to keep living the same patterns and following the same habits day after day after day, because we've been accustomed to the chemical balance and hormones that are circulating in response to how we're living right now. So when you try and change something, like start to exercise more, eat better, meditate, start a gratitude journal, or whatever it is, it becomes chaos inside your body. Your inner critic is alerted to something that's changing, and it presses the danger button in your brain. So your body springs into action and starts ramping up your stress response and doing everything it can to have you go back to the way things were. So your body is now working against your desire to create these new, healthy, fulfilling habits. And when you're in default survival mode, your inner critic is focused entirely on returning your habits and the chemical balance in your body back to the way things were. Because again, the way things were worked well enough for your survival. It's safe and it's known. And yes, logically, you know that these new desired habits will help you in the long run, and there's something that you're really wanting to create change for your life. But as long as you're in default survival mode with your inner critic making the decisions, your body and mind will resist and make it harder for you every single step of the way. The truth is, the whole idea here isn't to silence your inner critic and never have any negative self-talk again. What will happen after you've changed your mental filters and healed your negative self-talk and negative core beliefs is that your inner critic will be like a department manager. So by assuming that CEO role of your life, you're going to be able to hear the concerns brought up by your inner critic, consider if they need your attention, and then either deal with them or let them go. By healing your negative core beliefs and creating productive ones, you're going to be able to interpret your inner critic, your thoughts, and decide what's true, what you accept, versus what isn't true, and dismiss that right away and let it go. The hundreds of people that have gone through this process with me have felt a dramatic shift where their inner critic suddenly stopped being so nasty and now just gently brings things to their attention but doesn't push. And it's amazing how different everything becomes when you're not operating from a space of fear and default survival mode. And it all comes back to distancing yourself from your thoughts and stepping back to that place where you're the CEO objective observer. And one of the best ways to learn how to do this, to distance yourself from your inner critic thoughts and take your place as the objective observer, the CEO of your life, is through specific exercises and guided meditation techniques that are grounded in cognitive behavioral therapy and acceptance and commitment therapy, which are the gold standards of modern psychology and very closely tied to what we're going to be talking about in step 4 when we talk about the science of habits. So the strategies that I teach in the Mindset Reboot program are more information that we can get into today, because that's why the Mindset Reboot program is a couple of weeks long, not an hour. But yeah, we're just going to have to leave it at that for now. The meditation that you got if you joined the Inner Critic Challenge will definitely help start that healing process, but there's other steps you take to really deepen that. So those are all inside the Mindset Reboot program. And so this brings me to part 3, which is healing the emotional and energetic wounds that create your negative thoughts and fuel your inner critic. And so if you skip this step, you're just going to be putting a Band-Aid on the real problem without taking the time to uncover it and heal the limiting beliefs and root causes of those negative core beliefs that we talked about in step 1. It'll be like you're trying to bail water out of a boat full of holes and you're going to be using a spoon. So it's not going to be super effective. The water's going to keep building up underneath that. So you need to be able to heal the limiting beliefs and the experiential wounds that have caused that core belief. Because yeah, if you keep trying to change the self-talk patterns, but your belief system is against it, you're going to have those negative statements continue to appear underneath it all. So the first step in doing this is to identify your underlying driving emotions, your survival emotions that are keeping you stuck. Excuse me. Oh, it's going to happen again. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. So yeah, you need to figure out identify those underlying driving emotions that are going to be keeping you stuck in default survival mode, that are going to trigger you to fall back into the habit of letting your inner critic make all the decisions from a place of fear, right? Your inner critic is very scared of change. And there are a few ways that you can identify these triggers. And one is to discover your core emotional values, which I have a free PDF for, and that's part of the package that you'll receive at the end of this workshop. So these 3 core emotional values will show you your top 3 most common triggers where you'll be pushed to fall back into default survival mode programming. Because when you know these 3 core emotional triggers, you're going to be able to prepare for them and notice when it's happening. So I am a highly sensitive person, and I used to feel like my emotional reactions were completely outside of my control. I would feel myself get triggered, and then bam, this emotional freight train would zoom away with me holding on to the outside for dear life, completely unable to do anything about it. But now I know my core emotional values and what's most commonly going to trigger me. And so I've worked through the strategies that I teach. I absolutely practice what I preach. And now I'm able to feel myself getting triggered, and I feel that emotional freight train take off, but I'm left standing on the platform, watching it disappear, thinking, well, that was interesting. And I'm able to still access my inner objective observer and respond to the triggering situation without my inner critic running around pressing all the panic buttons in my mind. So after you've identified your core emotional values and the driving emotions behind your most common negative self-talk patterns and released those emotions, that's where we get into step 4, which is reprogramming your brain to follow your desired thought patterns. And to do this, you have to understand a little bit about the science of habits. So many things about our day-to-day lives are based in habits. Like I said earlier, 95% of our day, we rely on our habits. And our self-talk and emotional responses to the common triggers in our lives, those are also habits. Exactly the same as when you get up in the morning to brush your teeth. Every habit has a cue, a response, and then the reward, which isn't always that rewarding. So I usually shift this language to the consequence. But That's what it is in the science. In the research in this area, they call it the reward. So for every habit, for every thought pattern, there's a cue, a response, and a reward, or what happens because of that response. So looking back to the toothbrush example, your cue is you wake up in the morning and you got a little morning breath. Your response is to go up and go brush your teeth, and the reward is a clean mouth. But it wasn't like you were born with this idea to brush your teeth automatically, right? You had to learn this and you had to reinforce this habit in order to make it automatic. And we do the same thing with our self-talk. So let's look at a habit cycle when it comes to a self-talk pattern. Let's say that you used that paperclip exercise we talked about and discovered a negative self-talk pattern around your body image. A cue could be that you catch a glimpse of a reflection of yourself in a mirror walking outside, or like in a window or something if you're walking outside. And so your habit response, then the one that you've taught yourself to follow through on with lots of repetition, your habit response to seeing your reflection is, ugh, I hate how I look at my huge hips, spare tire, thunder thighs, love handle saddlebags, bingo wings, whatever it is that your usual focus is. And so your response is that you feel low. You hide yourself a little. Maybe you don't speak up in your morning meeting with your brilliant idea because you don't want to draw attention to yourself and your body. And every time you move through this habit, you're going to keep reinforcing this in your mind to keep making this brain program stronger. So it will keep following it so that you'll be able to keep telling that supercomputer brain what is true. But, and you had to know that there was a but coming, there's a moment in time right between the right between the response and the cue that you can, as the thinker of your thoughts, go back and dispute those thoughts and change your response, therefore changing your reward or the emotions that you feel after. So coming back to that moment, you caught a glimpse of your reflection of yourself. Normally that's the cue for your self-talk pattern to start. Normally you'd start gravitating towards the things that you don't like about your body. But this is where you can start to draw attention to the things that you do like about your reflection. Focusing on what you want to draw your attention to, those things that make you feel good about yourself. That will leave you feeling empowered, motivated, happy with your appearance. These are the things that are going to be what helps you break down the habit that usually leads to your negative self-talk. And you're going to create a new pattern where you build yourself up and feel awesome. Because you, the objective observer of your thoughts, has the ability to take a step back from the habits to break the cycle and create a new self-talk habit pattern that you want to follow. And this all starts with learning how to distance yourself from your thoughts so you can find that moment to dispute your habitual thought patterns and change your emotional response. And so we use a framework called the ABCDE framework in the Mindset Reboot program. And this really helps to create that space. And then we do a lot of visualization exercises to help you practice so that you can start to create a new thought pattern. Because when you walk across a field for the first time, you're just walking across grass. But the more you walk across that field in the same way, you're going to break down the grass and create a dirt path. So the more you walk that same neurological brain pattern, the stronger you make it and the easier it is for you to access it when you get triggered. So that's a kind of framework thing that we're going to be working on that. So by the time you're finished working through these 5 steps, you're going to be able to shrug off anything that your inner critic says. And you're going to be able to just shrug it off as easily as you would for that ice bath example. When you're trying to convince yourself that the water's warm and your thoughts were trying to say, ooh, the water's warm. And you, the objective observer, was just like, no, it's not. It's really cold. So you're going to be able to do that with all of those negative self-talk patterns around body image or confidence, or if you feel smart, or your ability to problem solve, whatever it is that your self-talk pattern is all about. Okay. So up to this point, we've covered the first 4 steps of the Mindset Reboot framework. And in order to heal your relationship with your inner critic and stop listening to your negative self-talk, you have to identify your existing core beliefs, those mental filters, and your unwanted thought patterns, which is what we talked about in the paperclip exercise, to bring your awareness to what your negative self-talk is all about right now. Then you have to start to step back and see your thoughts from the space of the objective observer, because you're the one thinking your thoughts. And from this space of awareness and separation, you're then able to find those emotional wounds that are causing those negative thoughts to come up, and to find those negative core beliefs and what caused them. And then you're able to release them and free yourself from the influence on your life. And then using the science of habits, you're going to be able to break those down to stop listening to those negative self-talk patterns. And so now we get to the exciting part. Now we get to talk about what your life looks like moving forward. So take a moment right now to think of how you would feel if you no longer had any negative self talk. What do you feel you could accomplish then that you can't do now? How much easier would it be for you to take care of yourself without feeling guilty and to be able to be there for the important people in your life? How would your relationships change if your self talk wasn't so brutal? Imagine how it would feel for you, how much different your life would be. And I'm here to tell you that all of your dreams and more are possible for you. There are just three things standing in your way. Number one, like we talked about, your body is incredible and it has this amazing stress response that's setting you up for success. But when you're being chased down by a bear, your body responds to make you breathe faster, to have your blood pressure go up, to have your heart beat faster and get the nutrients you need to the strong muscles of your body. And instinctually, we prioritize what we need for survival and put everything else on the back burner. But the truth is your body doesn't know the difference between running away from a bear and the aspects of our lives that are contributing to our chronic stress. We are staying in this constant stressed out state of being for much longer than our body was designed for. The stress response was to help us get away from danger and then turn off. But our stressors don't go away. And so unless we learn how to control our stress response, our health and well-being suffer. And so when I met Leslie, she was stressed out, burnt out, and ready for a timeout from her life. She was working 2 jobs, she was volunteering, she was the go-to person for friends and family. If you needed anything, Leslie was there. And on the outside, it looked like Leslie was living the dream. She was in a successful career, she was volunteering in her community, she had a network of friends and family. But no matter what Leslie did, she wasn't happy. It was like there was something missing. So she kept pushing herself to do more, to be more. And so she finally reached the point where her body said no, and Leslie crashed. She was exhausted all the time. She had terrible digestive issues. She was struggling with concentration and memory. And she started to experience chronic pain that her physicians couldn't find any reason for. Her body had lost its ability to cope with the consistent high levels of stress she experienced on a day-to-day basis. But by using some simple but effective stress management techniques that we talk about in the Mindset Reboot program, Leslie was able to regain control over her body's stress response. And Leslie learned how to turn the stress switch off and change the chemical balance within her body to allow it to heal. And within weeks, Leslie started to see these techniques affecting her digestion and her food intolerance because they disappeared. Her chronic pain became less intense, her ability to focus and remember things came back to her, and Leslie achieved all of this by making the conscious choice to get out of default survival mode and significantly lower the negative health effects of her stress. So the next thing that is holding us back is just like we've been talking about. When we're living in default survival mode like Leslie was, as she was trying to keep up with her hectic life, our inner critic is the one making the decisions. And our habits, our programming, and our survival instincts are the guidelines that our inner critic uses to keep us safe and just getting by. But there comes a point when just surviving isn't enough anymore. And we start to ask if there's something more to life. Is there more to life than this? And that's exactly what Sharon was thinking when we met. When I met Sharon, she was struggling with multiple things in her life. She was overweight, she was broke, she was beyond stressed out, and seemed like every time she had a little win in her life, she would get knocked down again by another big setback. Anytime she tried to change her life or habits, her inner critic would jump in right away and would be absolutely nasty, calling her names, telling her she was stupid and that she would never be successful with whatever she was trying to change. And so shortly after the inner critic letter writing exercise that you did when you joined the challenge, and then the self-talk section of the Mindset Reboot program, after she continued into that part of it, Sharon reached out to me to share her experience. And this is what she said. A month ago, my negative self-talk was constant, but now, it's still there, but so much different. It's like she's no longer nasty, just bringing stuff to my attention. And I can notice that when I start to listen to those thoughts, I can stop them. I don't have to keep listening to Jeanette, her inner critic. For 3 months ago, I couldn't do this, but I didn't know how. But now I can. The whole experience has been life-changing. So prior to working together, Sharon had been trying for over a decade to lose weight and take better care of herself. And she'd be okay for a few days or a week, but then would just fall back into the old habits and never lose that extra weight. Sometimes she'd even gain more back. But After she took back control from her inner critic, Sharon went on to lose those 60 pounds and counting, all without requiring massive amounts of willpower. And she told me, I actually want to take care of myself. It's crazy. I never thought I'd be craving vegetables and actually want to exercise instead of watch TV. Her words from her mouth. She never thought that that would happen. So when you get back in the driver's seat of your life and you're the one calling the shots, you're able to create space to shift into the identity of the person you were always meant to be. And once you do this, the beautiful change in your life starts to happen rapidly, and you start to live your life purpose to feel aligned with your authentic self. And connecting with her aligned purpose is something that Jess was struggling with her whole life. So when I met Jess, she had all sorry, it just got a little stuck. So when I met Jess, she had already been focusing on her personal development for over a decade. She had read books, attended workshops, and she'd taken courses to help her reach her full potential. But despite all the yoga, the meditation, the self-reflection, and all the inner work, she still felt stuck. And she had reservations signing up for my Mindset Reboot program, given that she'd already done so much personal development in the past without any significant results. But she wasn't even halfway through when I received this message from her. I feel like I've always been searching for my life goal or purpose since I was 18. I didn't feel like I ever fit the mold of what society expected of me, what I expected of me, and what my parents expected of me. I felt like a leaf blowing in the wind, never knowing when life was going to take me and what I should do. I've done so much personal development prior to this, and I was worried that I still wouldn't find that internal drive, that I would still feel lost, unfulfilled, and without a purpose. But in discovering my identity goal and the role of the inner critic in my life, everything is falling into place. Now, after all these years of searching, I know what I'm meant to do and why I'm here. I went for an interview today at one of my dream jobs, and normally my inner critic would have led me to self-sabotage, but instead, I didn't feel those fears and insecurities, and I trusted my ability to figure it out. Even if I fail miserably, I can actually trust in my own ability to be successful, because I know that I'll keep trying. Because I never knew this level of confidence existed or was available to me, but now I truly feel unstoppable. It's your turn to feel unstoppable. I believe that life is full of beautiful possibilities, yet sadly, most people are going through life in default survival mode and miss out on the wonder and joy of life. Because of stress, negative self-talk, and a distorted view of life, many people hold themselves back from reaching their true potential. So it's my mission to show people just like you how to live with conscious intention so that they can lower their stress, feel in control, and confidently go after anything they want for their life. And if you follow these 5 steps that I shared with you, your success will be inevitable. And so if you want the roadmap with step-by-step guidance, just like we talked about in this masterclass, then go to heatherthatcher.com/roadmap to get your copy and get your journey started today. So let me know if this sounds familiar. You are a recovering people pleaser, a highly sensitive person who's stressed out, burnt out, and ready for a timeout from your life. You spend all day taking care of others. You want to take better care of yourself, but there's just never enough time or energy left for you at the end of the day. You feel like you're just barely keeping your head above water in the sea of all of your responsibilities. Your inner critic keeps you stuck, unable to create positive change in your life. Life keeps getting to you, and you want to be strong for your friends and family, but you don't know how much longer you can keep being everybody else's rock. You find yourself thinking, there must be more to life than this. So now, my friend, you have a decision to make. Option 1, you keep moving forward from here and figure out how to put all of this into action in your life on your own. It's possible. I did it for myself, but it took me over 10 years, several of which I feel I spent reading and testing strategies that worked or didn't work. And so as you can see, unfortunately, this is the long and the hard way. Without a proven roadmap or framework, you're just going to end up wandering down several different paths and trying many different strategies and theories before you find the right one. So option 1 is possible, but it's going to involve a lot of time and trial and error. Option 2. You could learn the exact steps and strategies and shortcuts so you can do this in weeks, not years. You don't have to figure all of this out by yourself, and you don't have to go through this transformation on your own either. That's why I've created the Mindset Reboot program to shorten the learning curve and give you the information and support that you need to get you to where you want to be, and not have your inner critic be calling you the shots anymore, to reverse the stress damage and finally feel in control of your life. And the Mindset Reboot program gets you there as fast as possible. So as I'm sure you can see, and your heart is probably telling you this right now, this is really the best option. This is the one that's going to get you the results the fastest. And this is the opportunity that I present to you today. Give me just a few weeks, and I'm going to show you how to completely transform your life one gentle, self-compassionate step at a time. You're going to go from being trapped in default survival mode with your inner critic keeping you stuck, unable to change, where you're stressed out and feeling like life never gives you a break, to the empowered, confident person you were always meant to become, where people look up to you because now you are the one that's got everything together and you're no longer affected by negative self-talk, challenging life circumstances, or stress. In 12 weeks, you're going to become unstoppable. So here's what you can expect when you join the Mindset Reboot program. We dive right into the most important module of the program, which is the self-talk module. And so here's where we're going to talk about what default survival mode really means on so much of a deeper level than we've talked about here or in the inner critic challenge, and the important reason why you have an inner critic, and the exact steps you need to have them step down and have you step up and take on the role of your inner CEO. And you're going to start breaking down the old self-talk patterns and regain control over your perspective, because you have complete control over your perspective. And because your perspective creates your reality, you have control over your reality. And no, I'm not talking any woo-woo, law of attraction, The Secret, or other Instagram trends. It's science. And I'm going to share all of that with you in these lessons for the Self-Talk Reboot program. The next module is the habits reboot. And the way that we've been taught to set goals is actually backwards. We start by thinking of what we need to do in order to become who we need to be. But it's actually more effective if we set them the other way around. So after completing the Mindset Reboot module, you're going to be able to change your habits because you're already going to be living as the person you were meant to become. Think of it this way. Let's say you were trying to quit smoking, but someone offered you a cigarette. In the traditional way of goal setting, you would respond with, "Oh, no thanks, I'm trying to quit." But then you'd follow the habit change methods. When you follow the ones that I teach in the Habits Reboot module, you're going to confidently respond with something like, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." Did you feel that powerful shift? To say, instead of "No thanks, I'm trying to quit," but to say, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." Because non-smokers don't smoke, so they don't need willpower to resist something like that. So you want to shift your identity. And so in this module, you're going to learn how to set goals from the future version of you, rather than from trying to change the habits of the past. Just like how a non-smoker doesn't require willpower to stop smoking because they don't smoke, you're going to set goals as the person who's already achieved what you want, which completely eliminates willpower from the equation. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do that step by step. And so in this module, the next module, is where we focus on the importance of self-care and self-integrity by keeping your word to yourself. Because let's face it, you spend much of your day taking care of others. You rarely have time to take care of yourself. You're always there for the important people in your life, and that means you're quick to deprioritize your true self-care, like your health, your nutrition, your exercise, your mental health, and your relaxation time. We're really good at breaking our word to ourselves around those kinds of things, aren't we? So in this module, we're going to focus on life-changing strategies that will help you easily maintain a healthy weight, to find the life balance you've been craving, and to be able to start serving others from a place of self-integrity, where you aren't drawing an empty tank of energy just trying to keep up. Because prioritizing yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. And in this module, I'm going to show you how to believe that in your heart, how to really bring that inward. And then here in the last module is where everything gets really exciting, because assertiveness isn't just a communication strategy, it's a lifestyle. And so in this module, we're going to take this newfound confidence to go after your dreams, and we're going to set boundaries that you feel good about. We're going to empower you to reach for the sky and know that nothing's going to get in your way anymore. This is where you truly become unstoppable, because your life will never be the same. We also work through assertive communication scripts to practice how to speak assertively in challenging situations. We have lots of role-playing exercises where you can practice before you actually go and speak to those people that you need to set boundaries with. There's all kinds of extra support in this one. So you'll also get 16 downloadable lessons with cognitive behavioral therapy and neurolinguistic reprogramming based reflective exercises and guided reflections, which is a $3,000 value. You're also going to get access to a large and growing guided meditation library with neurolinguistic reprogramming meditations designed specifically to integrate the transformational psychology work that we do in these lessons and exercises. We also have the opportunity to join your own accountability tribe of 5 to 7 people who are going to work really closely together and support one another and encourage one another on this journey as you go through the program. And so you also get the larger community, but then there's also this smaller group to get more intimate support. And there's also weekly live group coaching calls with me where you can apply to get a one-on-one coaching spot to get focused on coaching that's all about you. Those happen every week. Plus, there's some group coaching that I'll talk about in each week as well. And then you also get unlimited support from me by email within the private members only Facebook group with a guaranteed response rate during office hours. So that means I'm going to answer you really fast during these preset hours that I have in the program. And then you also get a rapid response even on evenings and weekends. I am very much here for you through every step of this process. And so that leaves you with a grand total of greater than $6,000 because some of those things you can't really put a price on, so it's even more value than that. But you're not going to have to invest nearly that much. Your investment in yourself for the Mindset Reboot program will completely change your life, and it's just $1,000. So the question that I'm often asked is, what if I've never meditated before? Will this still work for me? And the answer is absolutely. I've had people come through this program who have been meditating for years and some who have never done it before at all. And when you join, you will also get complimentary access to my mini course called the Meditation Foundation Program. And in this 5-part mini course, you're going to learn how to calm your busy brain that starts thinking a mile a minute and all of the things the second you close your eyes. You're going to learn the science of breathing and how to set up your posture and breathing patterns to best support your meditation practice. You're going to learn the different styles of meditation so you can decide which is going to work best for you. And finally, you're going to learn how to set up your meditation practice so it'll be easy for you to stick to, just as easy as it is for you to brush your teeth in the morning. We're going to set up a habit that strong. And so the second most common question that I hear is, how much time does this take? I don't know if I'm going to have enough time for this. So each module's lessons released on Fridays. So you have the whole weekend to dive into the content and do the work. The lessons are available in downloadable format, both video and audio, so you can take them with you on the go and listen while multitasking. And each lesson is no longer than 30 minutes, and the reflective exercises take on average between another 30 to 60 minutes. So that means you're only going to need about 90 minutes a week to completely transform your life. And that doesn't have to happen all at once. You can do the work in 15-minute spaces, squeezing it in around your normal responsibilities. But I don't just leave you with that. You'll also get a complimentary access to my other mini course called Finding More Time that will help you figure out where all of your time is going and help you shift your schedule so that's in alignment with the person you're meant to become. And there's tons of pockets of time in your day. We just have to find them. And that's exactly what this bonus course will help you do. Plus, your accountability tribe is there for more than just motivation. They're also there to reach out for accountability, to commit to a time to work on the program together and have them keep you on track. And this is the other common objection that I hear. What if I'm not ready? This isn't the right time. When do you do this again? And so I'm going to offer you a little bit of tough love right there. It's not a matter of how ready you are. It's about how committed you are. It's about how much you want to change your negative self-talk to lower your stress and your risk of stress-related diseases. How much do you want to get back in control of your life? Because when you think about it, when have you ever felt 100% ready before jumping into something big that was going to change your life? The fact is, being ready is an illusion. You're never going to feel ready. Think back to any major decision in your life that affected how it was going to look like moving forward. Did you shrug your shoulders and nonchalantly say, I'm sure this is going to be fine, it'll work itself out? Or did you fret over it, do research, wonder if you're making the right choice, doubt yourself, ask friends for their thoughts, and maybe even lose some sleep over it? If you're like me, it's very easy to get caught up in all the what ifs and stay stuck, unable to make the decision that's going to change your life, which leaves you stuck in this cycle of your current circumstances. Remember, your inner critic fears change. You're never going to feel ready. And the longer you stay in that place of indecision, self-doubt, and what ifs, the longer you're going to stay in this place where you don't want to be, where nothing's going to change for you. Our bodies are so attuned to our habits that we actually create those chemicals and hormones that keep us liking the status quo. So when our lives stay the same, we get some feel-good hormones circulating because we're keeping the things the same. But when we start to stretch out of that comfort zone and even consider changing a habit, our body's chemical response is to send out stress hormones in an effort to protect itself. And our body and our inner critic does this without accessing our logic brain. So that means, though, even though you may be considering this change for the best and you know it's going to be better for you, our body still sends out those chemical hormones that make it feel scary. And so if you're wondering, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for this, that could be what's happening to you right now. Your body and your inner critic could be working against you. So it's not necessarily that you're doubting yourself. You are capable of doing this. Promise you that. I can guarantee that you are capable of this. It's just that your body's chemical messengers are trying to keep you in the current circumstances because from their perspective, this is safer. But you're here watching this right now because you don't want your life and your self-talk to stay the same. You're ready to be gentler with yourself, to show yourself more self-compassion, and to see what happens when your nasty inner critic's voice doesn't matter anymore. So my friend, it's not about if you feel ready, it's about your commitment to make this change for yourself. It's about how much you want to change your self-talk. It's about how much you want to change your life. Your commitment is what's going to move you past the obstacle of self-doubt. So fostering your level of commitment and your desire to be kinder to yourself is where the magic's going to be for you. And commitment to your growth is an essential part of what I teach in the Mindset Reboot program. And we go into all kinds of different strategies for your internal motivation and your commitment to your goals. The Mindset Reboot program has delivered results for many people before you, and it will work for you. I guarantee it. I know that this program delivers results, and I believe in it so much that I offer the Do the Work 90-day money-back guarantee. So if after the program, you've shown me that you've done the work and you participated in the live calls by either joining live or watching the replay, and you still didn't get the results you were looking for, I'm going to give you your money back. No questions asked, and I will even help you try and find your next step so that you can keep working on healing that inner critic. But the truth is, the Mindset Reboot program delivers results. But don't take my word for it. Here are some testimonials from some past students. Through a scientifically proven coursework designed for around CBT and habit change techniques, Heather teaches you how to look at your behaviors like a scientist exercises curiosity and ask questions of a subject. We learned how to first become aware of and then question our motivation, actions, habits, and behaviors, take ownership for these, and then change them through CBT and various meditation techniques. And that is the gift of freedom and self-empowerment. After 12 weeks in the program, I came away feeling like a seed blowing in the wind, but like a strong but flexible willow tree, and able to move with the wind, but now rooted, steady, and with a newfound feeling of self-appreciation, not devaluation, with the knowledge and empowerment, not helplessness, in regards to how to change my thoughts, habits, and behaviors when they aren't working for me in my life. Sarah wrote, I can't even begin to tell you how much you've changed my life. I love and respect myself enough to stand up for myself. Those friends we talked about who weren't really just my friends, they just used me. They're gone. And the people in my life now really care about me, and I can tell the difference. All of my relationships have changed for the better. I finally feel like me again, happy, healthy, and free. Donna said, you believed in me when no one else did, especially not myself. I used to think that life was happening to me, and that I couldn't do anything about it except for try and react and keep my head above water. And I wasn't doing that very well either. But now I feel different. I want to learn how to eat better. I want to start taking care of myself and exercising more. And I'm surrounding myself with people who support me. It's been life-changing. Shazia wrote, you're doing an amazing job and making a significant impact on people's lives. Thank you for all that you do. Anna wrote, Heather's words are always on point. If you haven't worked with her yet, just do it. You won't regret it. So what will your life look like in just a few weeks when you've taken control of your life, silenced your inner critic, and know exactly what you need to do in order to become the person you were meant to be, living the life you were meant to live? So if you're interested in learning more about the program, you can click the link below if you're watching on the replay page, or you can go to heatherthatcher.com/mindset to learn more about the program. And so the doors to this program are only open from now until June 16th, 2020 at midnight Eastern Standard Time. So the doors are only open for about a week. you really need to go and learn a little bit more about it, see if it's the right fit for you, and make a decision. So, for people who join today, this is Saturday, June 20th, 2020. For people who join today, you're going to get a bonus one on one call session with me. And that's just how I reward you for taking action, for choosing today as your day to be the first day of the rest of your life. I'm going to give you a full hour of coaching specific to you to make the most out of this program. All right, friends. So this is the end of the workshop. So I'm going to stop recording it and get to questions. I can't wait to chat with you. So if you're interested in learning more about it, then go to heatherthatcher.com/mindset to learn more about the self-talk reboot and the mindset reboot program and what it can do for you. All right.